Hello and welcome to another episode of What Do You Call It podcast. I'm your host, GB. Today's guest is the Commissioner and MC for the DKW Academy. Please welcome Commissioner Danny James. Danny, how you doing today, mate? You all good?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not bad, mate. Not bad. Sunday, it's
And
not been too bad at the time recording. It's actually before
you've
the Arsenal game, so a
yeah.
little bit nervous.
Um,
A little bit nervous.
I, One thing I will say, we're going to keep football chat
Oh
between us, you know.
God! So yeah, do you know what? Because
After we got
if Dan
spanked
wants
by
to,
Brentford,
I was gonna say if Dan doesn't want to talk about it, I'll quickly touch on it. He supports Man United, and they have
can you
been,
not tell by the London accent?
yeah, nice and local. They've been abysmal. Dan, get your system quickly. What is going on at Man United before we touch on your role as a commissioner, MC, and your wrestling career?
What's going on is since 2013, we lost probably the greatest manager in our club's history, and since then we've not managed to replace him, and the club have basically just not given managers an ample opportunity. I think we were on the right kind of track when we had Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in charge. I think
Hmm.
they should have just kept with him, but I think it's constantly changing managers is just no good because the players are then adapting to a different manager, different styles, different systems, and no team is going to be able to just automatically just gel and like do different bits and pieces within the space of like 6 months, a year, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like they brought Amarim in, but the thing I think with him is he seems so stubborn about this formation. Now the
Mm.
players are not used to playing the 3-4-3 formation or whatever it is that he wants to call it. They're not used to playing the three at the back system. Like you're playing Bruno, one of the best number tens, probably arguably some people would say one of the best number tens in the world. You're playing him as like a 6 or 8. He's not
Mm.
comfortable there. So Amarim just needs to give his head a bit of a wobble, be like, look, my system ain't working. Let's maybe even just for like a match or two. All right, look, we'll try four at the back. We'll try it a different way. I think the whole time he's sticking with that and it's not working, it's just going to be a bit downhill. But you know what? I think you've got to keep hold of someone. You've got to give
Mm.
them time. But if something's not
That's
working,
I mean, just not even a Man United fan myself, but just to see what's going on. I don't like him in the media. I don't think he's very convincing. The game against
mm,
Grimsby, when he, on the penalties, I thought that was actually beyond embarrassing what he was doing. Sort of like, oh, not looking and stuff. It's fucking Grimsby Town, mate. Like, I just don't think I'm not convinced by him. I mean, the
yeah.
football's got worse. I thought he was a bit harsh. Ten, to be honest. I thought his first season was pretty solid. You know,
I mean, yeah, it's. I think like I was listening to, I think it was Duncan Ferguson, his audio book the other day, and
yeah,
he was saying about with David Moyes, and I think David Moyes was kind of given a bit of a rough ride at United because when Fergie left, you weren't just losing a manager, you were pretty much losing like your chief scout, and everything. Because he was so hands on, he'd do everything. And so
yeah.
when you lost him, it wasn't just the manager; it was pretty much doing everything. So he was kind of walking into a kind of poison chalice thing. But we can hope the glory days are going to return at some point, and who knows? We might actually manage to get back up to those dizzy heights of second place that you guys are used to.
But don't worry, I'm not
I
going
mean,
to put your.
even in our worst period, we've still won the league more recent than you guys. So
Hey, there we go.
sorry, that's
Yeah, that's it, mate. Pokes in the past, but that's what you do. And I'm looking forward to your Circus Tent Stadium that's going to be coming out next few years. Uh, you've seen the images, we've all seen the advert for it, and I just hope Amarin stays. I think he's doing a fantastic job. Awesome. So yeah, I had to get the wrestling talk, not the wrestling talk, sorry, the football talk out of the way. Dan, what I want to do is before I touch on your current role in the DKW Academy, I want to
Yeah.
know first of all how you became a fan of wrestling.
Oh, how did I become a fan of wrestling? So we go way, way, way back now. Back when my back didn't hurt, my knees didn't hurt, and I was at school. So many moons ago. And I had some friends basically in secondary school, and they were talking about wrestling, and I was like, oh, no, didn't really seem that interested at first, and then they were like, "Oh, you should watch this," and like, "Oh, this show's coming up. Like, it's called WrestleMania." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll give it a watch." And it was ironically WrestleMania X7. So not a bad way to kind of start your way into
Oh,
wrestling.
what an introduction to wrestling.
But I mean, WrestleMania can only kind of go downhill from there, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then it turned out that, like, through talking to my family, that my great granddad was actually into wrestling when he was younger. So into like the stuff with like the Big Daddy, Giant Haystacks, all that
Yeah.
kind of world of sports stuff. And yeah, so it was mainly through school, and then like I met my best mate Scott actually in when I was like started becoming a bit more of a fan in the library at school, and he was doing this thing on the computer to do with wrestling, and so I got chatting to him, and he said, "Oh yes, it's like an E-Fed." Now, for those of you that don't know what E-Feds are, that are too young to know what they are, they're basically like wrestling shows that you'd kind of do online, where
Yeah.
So for example, I was my character,
I
so
could
to speak,
also
was
ask
Ed.
what was the name, the character's name?
No, so it was just WWE talent, or like actual wrestling talent. So
Yeah.
I was just using Edge. So Edge was the one that I would use. And then obviously you'd then do so like your own little kind of role play of it. So like, oh, this show, oh, Edge comes out, does X, Y, Z, and then whoever was booking the show, so it would be like my friend Scott. So he would be booking the show and be like, oh, this person's gonna like win this championship, for example. And yeah, it was like very kind of like that first kind of foray into like wrestling kind of thing, and that's kind of how like I got into that kind of stuff. And then obviously watching more of the shows, I then became like religiously watching it kind of week in week out through all the bad times, the good times, the not so good times. um and yeah, then it was, I think I was probably in about what year was WrestleMania X7? 2001,
2001.
was it?
Yeah.
So I would have been in year 7 or 8 at the time. So it shows how old I am. Yeah,
That's
year
all
seven
right.
or eight in school.
You
And then
may or
obviously
not
going,
maybe same age as me, but I'll let you continue.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm 37 in like a month. So there we go. But yeah, so that's how that kind of went on. And then obviously the more I kind of like started talking with Scott, we started then obviously talking to more people, and then like, we're into wrestling a bit more. And then um, got to give him a big shout out as well. PJ, who wrestled for DK under the name of Ponsonby, I think it's Ponsonby, Pendleton Pratt, and Eddie Cornell, or Freddie Cornell. It's one of the Cornells anyway. But obviously, we sadly lost him in a few years back to his epilepsy. So he was a big part of when
Yeah.
Dropkicks was the Bucket of Blood Fight Club. And yeah, Paul was basically madly into it as well. Didn't know him, but he was like the IT tech at our school. So he was obviously a few years older than we were. He'd hate me saying that because never used to let anyone know his age. And yeah, I was very lucky in 2007 that Paul actually was like, oh, do you fancy coming to WrestleMania? So I had the opportunity through him to go to WrestleMania 23 out in Detroit. Never go to Detroit, guys. It's an absolute, excuse my language, fucking shithole. The best part about Detroit was leaving.
But that
But
WrestleMania was brilliant, by the way.
and
Battle of the
my
Billionaires.
Yeah, I mean, Battle of the Billionaires. I got to see Donald Trump, and also got to see probably my favorite wrestler of all time, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, wrestling in the main event against John Cena.
And lose.
And you know what? That was back when it was essentially anyone with a masculine voice was Cena sucks, and anyone that was a woman or a child was like, "Let's go, Cena! Cena
Cena
sucks." That was
sucks.
pretty much that was pretty much the entire crowd for that
Yeah.
match. But I can say I got to see Shawn Michaels main event, and yeah, that was a very good experience. Obviously, then I managed to go again in WrestleMania 35, like the longest one ever. But,
Oh, Becky Ronda Charlotte main event.
yeah,
The show went on for like 8 hours or something.
didn't actually get to see it though because we had to leave halfway through because my partner that I was with at the time decided that she was going to have too much to drink and not eat anything, and decided that she was going to throw up halfway through. So I
Oh,
just caught Kofi winning the title, and then we had to leave. Luckily, we did though, because there was obviously all the problems with getting back. So yeah, just literally got back to the hotel. Triple H Batista was probably still going on. It was in about its 4th hour that
to be
night.
fair, don't get me wrong, it's still wrong. You paid all that money, you've thrown all the way over there, but the main event should have been Kofi and Bryan, and that was epic. After that, the show does take a bit of a dip in quality. The main event, the crowd are so tired, they're just politely cheering Becky at that point, but
Yeah,
still, no, it
and I
was
mean,
funny.
but for that one, see, that one was actually slightly different because it was all in the same city kind of thing. So,
Mm.
well, I say same city. The stadium's actually in a different state, but so we managed to get like a package thing where you got tickets to say Barclays Center, so the same seats for like Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Hall of Fame. So that was good, and then obviously the WrestleMania. That was back when it was reasonably priced. Like I think the tickets to WrestleMania were $75, and they were decent seats. And now you can't even get, you wouldn't even get past the turnstile for $75 now.
Sad, isn't it?
So yeah, but anyway, yeah, I've like waffled on way too much about
No, that's fine, mate. I think you've got
that.
to touch on to how you became a wrestler. So a lot of fans at DKW, they might not know that you've stepped foot in the ring before.
I mean, yeah, I stepped foot in. I've done like a couple. I did a couple of battle royals
Yeah.
back in my younger days. But yeah, actually, so it was through Scott actually that in I think it was about. Now I'm sure someone will probably correct me if this is incorrect, but it was around I think 2007 that the LDN training school first opened in Enfield.
Hmm.
And the coaches there were Tex Benedict and Ash, who is Paul Ash from the New Breed. I don't know if you know of the New Breed, but sometimes still wrestles in UBW. But yeah, so went down there to Enfield first time there. A few names there that people might recognise. So you had the likes of Nick Aldis was down there.
Oui.
A couple of names that you probably can't mention now in wrestling.
Yeah.
And there was also a very young, I believe he was probably about 12 at the time, but a very, very young Sid Scala,
All
who
right.
everyone
Yeah.
referred to as Wee-Man. Yeah,
Yeah.
he'd been
Yeah.
training like for a while. Like the kid was like, you knew he was going to have a massive future from that,
Yeah.
like from that first
Former
session kind
GM
of thing.
of NXT UK, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was through there obviously that's kind of when I got like a bit of a start in in wrestling, learning all the basics, the fundamentals, and it was around the time obviously when they became a part of like the wrestling channel, I think it was
Yeah.
when that was a thing. But funny story about that actually. So Tex Benedict, who was the trainer, he obviously his gimmick on the show was an American wrestler, but the actual person that portrayed him was English. So they've done all this like advert that they filmed for the wrestling channel at one of our training sessions, and so he's done this whole thing, done this monologue and etc. So they've done it all. They've been like, oh, thank you guys, and then I can't remember who it was now, but someone literally just pointed out and went, was he meant to do that in character? They're like, yeah. They're like, he just the whole thing just in his normal English accent. The whole room just erupted, and he was like, "Oh my days!" Had to literally stand there and do the whole thing all over again in his American accent. Yeah, I think so. It was actually fun fact. Actually, I was actually taught how to clothesline properly by Sheamus from WWE. Because obviously I'm a bigger guy. I
Yeah.
was throwing clotheslines, and he's like, "Nah," he goes, "You're being too nice with it." And he was like, "You need to like properly look like in going through them." But yeah, so Shaman's a really lovely guy actually as well. So yeah, we got to work
So
under
Sheamus
him.
helped you with your clothesline. That's pretty sick.
Shaman's yeah, I mean, he didn't actually get in the ring, but he was like giving us advice and that, and
Yeah.
got to do. So he wrestled Tex on one of the shows. So yeah, like he was really lovely, and also who else was it? Robbie Brookside as well.
Yeah. UK
Father
wrestling
of obviously
legend.
Zaya Brookside, who you see on NXT UK
Yeah.
and NXT. But yeah, again, both really lovely guy, and a lot of it nowadays, obviously with DK. Obviously, I knew of drop kicks through through LDN, because obviously they had a bit of a partnership, and John Ritchie, who was like running it at the time, obviously he'd bring a lot of the guys down to the LDN shows, and John was like one of the top stars in LDN at that time. So that's pretty much how I got into it.
Hello there. I've got a special announcement from my next guest.
What's up, everyone? This is the artist of 8 limbs, the Golden Dragon, Big Boss, Tyson Keaton, for the first time appearing on the What Do You Call It podcast.
Yeah, I heard. How many matches did you roughly have before you would hang up the boots? Because I know you've told me sort of about the injuries, unfortunately, that you have that you had and prevented you from sort of a long-term wrestling career. But did you have many in-ring matches? You said about battle royals, but did you have any
Yeah, it's just
tag matches, or was it just the
no,
battle?
no. So I had no, so it's just like a couple battle royals. I was then I did managing as well for a little bit. Did a couple of little manager roles and that. But yeah, like, as in like one-on-one and tag matches, I never kind of got to that stage. I kind of fell out a little bit with with how things were there, and when kind of you think, you know what, it's just gonna be like, if I'm gonna be here, it's like the thing is, everyone goes to training and they want to get booked on shows, and then you kind of get a little bit kind of disheartened when you've been there for ages, and then you get somebody else will come in and they'll get a spot that you feel like you could or should have had, kind of thing. And we see it all the time in like different training schools, or these people are here and blah blah blah. But it was one of them where I kind of not fell out of love with it, but you're thinking like, well, what's the point in me kind of coming here, and I'm kind of getting overlooked all the time, and
Feel like you're not progressing there, like.
Yeah, I mean, no, it wasn't like that. I wasn't progressing because, like,
Not as an actual talent, but in terms of your actual
yeah, exactly.
character.
And obviously, for me, where I was a bigger guy at the time, like, we're talking like I was like probably 25, 26 stone at the time. So my knees weren't as good as they used to be. So, I had obviously issues with my knees. I was only like 20, 21 at the time. So, yeah, we're going back a fair while. And then obviously I just distance myself from that, but then just kept obviously watching wrestling from afar. And it's mainly just like watching WWE stuff like from afar, so it would never be like a lot of the British wrestling stuff.
I was gonna say, so you wouldn't like watch local, independent wrestling in the UK scene, but you watched like WWE, on the network, however you watched it, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, nothing like that. It'd always just be like watch the shows on TV. If there's like live events from WWE, I'd just go there. So
that's fair, mate. That's fair. What actually brought you back in to the world of wrestling? Not WWE, but actually being involved in wrestling and sort of where you currently are in DKW Academy.
So obviously, so we mentioned obviously that I did some stuff with Rebellious Noise, give them a shout out, where we managed to get some press time. So we went and interviewed some of the WWE guys, so big thank you to them for that opportunity. And yeah, then obviously, so I did some of that, like pre-COVID, pre-lockdown.
Hello there. I've got a special announcement from my next guest.
Oi, what's happening, people? It's the Ultimate Geezer, Tommy Tanner, and you're listening to the What Do You Call It podcast. Let's have it.
Yeah, I heard. Who did you interview, by the way?
So it's so we had the very first ones we actually did. So it was Drew McIntyre, Rusev, Cesaro, and the Iconics.
Great crop of talent there.
So that was the first lot, but that was over like a couple of days. So generally what it is so when they come over to the UK, they'll generally have like a bunch of talent, and this time everyone was just kind of sat around a table, and the wrestler would sit at the end, and they'd go around and everyone would get to ask a question. Whereas future ones that we'd done were, you'd all be in like this big like meeting room, or you'd be in this big like conference room or whatever. And then the wrestlers would kind of just like gravitate around. So, myself, and Scott went and done a few of them. Like he's been over to when they did the Clash of the Castle in Cardiff, so he went and did that as well. But yeah, with trying to think who I personally have spoken to: Matt Riddle, Kevin Owens, Santos Escobar, Pretty Deadly. I'm trying to think who else.
Such a crime.
Yeah, I mean,
doing them Pretty Deadly, by the way, on the main roster. Just such a crime.
Pardon?
Pretty Deadly with them on the main roster. Just bugs me.
And obviously, Elton Prince, product of the DKW Academy, took his very first bump at DKW. So very proud moment, obviously seeing him. But yeah, so obviously going back to like how I got started with DK. So the thing is, so it's during lockdown really. So we used to do like our wrestling podcasts because obviously you couldn't really meet up with so it was me and Scott, and then I'd always kind of knew of Lucas from like obviously through the LDN connections and stuff. And so I don't even know how it was, but we just started getting talking, and he mentioned obviously about the show starting up again, coming out of lockdown. I think it was 2021. And so I'm like, oh, like, do you need like an MC or anything for the show? I said, I've never done it before, but happy to come down and give it a whack kind of thing. I'm like, I can't do nothing physical, so I might as well just come down. I can talk. Not even that confident with talking in front of people, but I'm like, I'll come down and give it a whirl, sort of thing. And I'm coming up to doing like my 50th show for DKW.
Congratulations, mate. Honestly, that's a wicked milestone.
I mean, to be honest, so that is 50 shows, not including like charity events or anything like that. So it's 50 like what we class as.
I was going to say not including the Park Tavern shows then.
No. So no pub shows, like anything that's not a kind of advertised show that we would generally do in, say, like the community centres and stuff. Yeah, what we class as main show. It technically would have been 51, but the very first Stronger Things show we did, I actually lost my voice the morning of the show. So I came out and did the introduction to the show, and then it was Lucas and Vicky, so Vicky Two Thumbs, or protege Vicky, had to actually take over doing the MCing for that show. So this technically would be my 51st, but I didn't MC that show, so I'm not going to count that as a show that I've MC'd. But yes, obviously that was the start of it, and then I can't remember, it was 22 or 2023. I actually became co-owner of DK with Lucas. So, and that's still something that not a lot of people kind of realize, because you hear DKW, you hear drop kicks, and everyone instantly thinks, oh, Lucas. But there is actually two of us that run things behind the scenes. And yeah, it's quite, it can be quite fun at times. It can be quite rewarding, and it can also stress you the fuck out.
Tell me about the positives and the negatives then of this. You're saying about the rewards, but also it being challenging. Tell me about the positives first, and tell me about the times you'd be like, oh, pulling my hair out.
So positives are obviously, when, especially for me now, is seeing people at their very first training session, and they walk in, they can't do anything at their first session, and then you see them on the full journey where they're going through and they're then wrestling on main shows or doing stuff on main shows. Like, I'll give you like an example. One of the people that I'm most proud of is a guy that we've currently got down at the academy called Ethan. Now, he came in the very first session. His dad's like, look, he's autistic. He's not very like comfortable around people.
Yeah.
And his first session, he literally left the session crying. And that wasn't because of obviously how anyone was with him. It was just because he felt as though like, oh, I can't do this. And we kept encouraging him. We're like, look, come back, do what you need to do. And that kid has literally worked his socks off. And we were like, look, should we try and get him a bit involved in the show? So he then started co-hosting the raffle with us. And then in the end, we were like, look, do you feel comfortable doing it on your own? He went, yeah, go on. So now you guys, anyone that comes to a live show, you'll see the Ethan Rogers raffle at every DKW show now. He's put me out of a bloody job.
Shout out to Ethan.
Shout out. And he also, at the last Park Tavern show, he MC'd, so he's probably going to put me out of that one in a couple of years as well.
Fair play, mate. And tell me about a negative to this role.
The negatives, I mean, the negatives are just mainly the long days. Like anyone that's ever run a show will know that a show is not just when doors open, when doors close.
Yeah.
You know, we are very, very lucky. Me and Lucas are super lucky that we have got a fantastic team around us. The likes of Peter, I'll give them shoot names, but Peter, Craig, Ash, Spencer, you know, those kind of guys that every show we have are loading a ring into the van, sometimes at like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning to do a show, to then unload it and not get home until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes. And they're the things that people don't see. They just think, oh, you know, they just turn, like the wrestlers, for example, on the shows, they'll get to the show, do the show, then they can like go home, have their dinner, be with their families for the evening. While they're doing that, these guys are literally still going back, unloading a ring. Then they've still got to get other people home that don't drive, and then, you know. So yeah, like we've had it where the guys have done 16, 17-hour days sometimes, and you know, it's rewarding when you see like the final product of how good the shows were, but it's just that thing of they are very, very, very tiring days. But as I say, we've got a fantastic team around us, and you know, big shout out to each and every one of them that just bust their asses for us. You know, even people on the shows, you know, even it is like the wrestlers that we have working for us, you know, they just bust their ass show in and show out, and you know, massive thank you to all of them as well.
Definitely, man. You know, I'm gonna say,
and the commentary team as well.
hey, we do try, mate. We try. I've been involved with DKW Academy since last year, guest commentary, but any show that's mainly in Southend or Leon C, I do. I think I'm there mostly, and I do see the crew that they have, the passion and the drive and the love, and they love the fans, and the fans are great. But just what goes into the shows, it's honestly, mate. I don't think even myself, to be honest, until like a few shows in, I'm like, oh, okay, there's a lot of effort that goes into this. It's not just let's put the ring in, let's just go a few matches, and let's just do a show. Like you care.
I mean, yeah, and it does help when you actually turn up at the right venue as well.
For fuck's sake. Yeah, one of the shows, I turned up at the wrong venue. I made it on time still, but just fucking scraped it. But yeah, I was like calling Dan. I was like, Dan, what the fuck? No, can someone let me in?
No, imagine if the show was on April the 1st, though. You literally would have just thought it was
it's just Booker T, as Dan calls me. Well, I was just winding us up. No, I'm in the wrong fucking venue. But luckily I was able to make it on time, so all good there. But no, obviously that and obviously helps me a lot as well with the commentary and the notes, and just there's times just like okay, don't speak when he speaks. The intros when the wrestlers come out, try not to speak too much, but then when the matches are on, just fucking go all in. I do notice some people when you're talking, they'll just go. No matter what you say, they'll just do it. You know, like Luca, like he loves it. And I feel like they do it just to get under your skin.
Yeah.
A few more questions, my man. A few more questions. So you told me you took your last bump about 2 years ago, and we've seen many, many wrestlers return from career and injuries. Would you ever be tempted to get back in the ring for the DKW Academy and have an actual match? Have you ever
the
felt
thing
that
is,
bug still? Like, oh, I've got to do it. Fuck it.
the thing is, I think this is probably something that anybody that's ever taken a bump in a wrestling ring will tell you, or anyone that's, you know, trained or would class themselves as a wrestler would tell you.
Yeah.
What are the three most famous words in wrestling? Never say never. So the thing is, for me, it'd have to be the kind of right time. And, you know, I've got slip discs in my neck. I've got sciatica in my back. So it's a case of, firstly, is it going to be safe?
Yeah.
Is the main thing for me is, you know, can I safely do it? Then I'd have to actually get into some kind of shape. Like, I know round is a shape, but I don't feel like I'm in any shape to get in there. And the pace that some of these guys and girls go at,
Oh, it's extraordinary. So it's
you know, you're just like, yeah, I'm getting knackered just sitting there watching you,
yeah.
like, let alone actually trying to get in there and actually do anything with them. But, you know, if there was obviously a time where I might need to, like, throw some authority down, you know, throw a punch here and there, take a bump here and there, then who knows? But obviously, I'll leave it to the guys that attend the DKW Academy down in Purfleet every Sunday. If you don't already, why not? You should be down there. One of the UK's longest running wrestling academies. We've been going for 26 years now. Soon to be 27th anniversary coming up in July next year. Fun fact actually about this, right? So, sorry, this is going completely off topic.
All good.
Randomly, I was getting my hair cut, and the barber that was cutting my hair had the name of Frank Reimer. So I'm like, oh, are you related to Frank Reimer who founded Dropkicks? He went, yeah, it's my dad. And I'm like, oh shit, I actually own that, like co-own that company now. And so, yeah, me and him obviously got talking a little bit more
Small
there.
fucking world.
A very small world. And my current barber now actually cuts the hair of Cara Noir. So
Really?
even smaller world, yeah.
Who is this barber?
Well, no, so Frank moved out to Canada, so I was like, oh, I'll go to somebody else. Sorry, Frank. But yeah, I went to somebody else, and yeah, he cuts Cara Noir's hair as well. So random piece of info for you guys.
Bit of knowledge there. Last question, Dan. Doesn't have to be wrestling related. We have talked about Man United. We've talked about your career. Talked about DKW, your role in DKW, the positives, the negatives, challenging, and you celebrating your 50th. Well, technically 51st. However you want to, celebrate it. But I'll be at the show after the Halloween one,
The
26th.
one on my birthday.
Yeah, celebrating Commissioner Danny James's birthday.
By the way, we've got it on record now. If he doesn't buy me a present, he's a tight ass.
Times are hard, mate. Well, no, I think it's payday weekend, actually. I'm cutting this bit out. Last question for you, mate. Last question. 3 dream dinner guests for your dream party. Dead or alive, past or present, fiction, non-fictional, anyone, mate. Anything. Doesn't matter. 3 reasons as to why you want them there. Go.
3 guests. First one will be the legend, Sir Alex Ferguson. Just doesn't need a reason. It's Sir Alex Ferguson.
I mean, he's no Wenger, but he'll do. Yeah.
No comment.
Right.
I'm not in a process of getting cancelled, but at least Fergie will be able to see what's on the table. There we go. And it obviously he'd dethrone Roman Reigns. He'd sit at the head of the table, obviously. So yeah, so Alex Ferguson would be one. What I might try and do is I might try and do one from football, one from wrestling, and one from personal life. So there we go.
Man.
So then we'll swing it all back.
So who's the
personal life? Probably so personal life will probably be my granddad. Obviously, he was one of my biggest supporters, and where I get the name Danny James from. My granddad Jim, so that's where the James part of my name comes from. And then the third one would be, so from wrestling, it's tricky because there's so many of them. Like, I'm trying to think who would be a good laugh.
Sheamus
would be a good laugh. He'd have good crack, but he's a Liverpool supporter, so don't think he'd get on too well with Fergie. It's tricky. You know what? I'm probably going to have to go with Shawn Michaels because he was my all-time favourite wrestler. So, yeah, it'll have to be HBK. So Alex
Which
Ferguson
one, actually? Now. Shawn Michaels from his first run, where he retired in 98, or second Shawn Michaels run from 2002 to 2010?
The Shawn Michaels that I knew from 2001, the bob haircut, shit brown trousers in his elimination chamber match.
It's because his pants were haircut's atrocious.
Yeah, that Shawn Michaels.
Fucking poop tire. But the match is actually phenomenal. But so I let him off a little bit for what he's wearing, and then he got his moment. Wicked to chat to you, mate. Look forward to seeing you end of the month. We'll celebrate your birthday, and congratulations to your 50th DKW show. But still, you've actually done something more. But we are officially celebrating that, so that's awesome, mate. Is there anything you want to share, anything you want to promote, or anything you want to say, mate, when at the end of this interview?
So obviously, anyone that does want to become a wrestler, get yourselves down to DKW Academy down in Purfleet. We train every Sunday, unless we've got shows. Keep an eye out on social media for that. Stars that have come through that academy: Nick Aldis, SmackDown General Manager; Wade Barrett, WWE commentator, actually had their first match together at the hall right next to where we train. Fun fact for you. And Elton Prince from Pretty Deadly took his very first bump. Most of the shows you guys will go over to watch in Essex will probably have at least one person that's been trained through the DKW Academy. So, we've got quite a good list of alumni. It's a really good, fun, friendly environment. We're open to students of 16 plus, so come on down to that. Also, obviously, as you mentioned already, we've got shows coming up at the end of October. We've got shows coming up in November as well, so watch this space for them. And just obviously anyone that isn't following British wrestling, follow a lot of the guys as well that work on our shows. Support them. But go out, if you go into a show, buy a t-shirt for the guys. Buy an 8x10. Stick a couple of quid in their pocket. Just be like, you know what, you did really well on that show. I really enjoyed it. I'll buy a t-shirt. I'll support you, because these guys are doing it. Even the workers on the show, sometimes they're driving miles and miles and miles. They're racking up miles. Their bump cards are not going to be great, because some of this high intensity action, at least people can do kick a few quid back to them and give them a little bit of support there. And you can also buy my t-shirts as well. So I notice you ain't wearing one, George. So let me know the size, and you can pick one up at the next show, and I'll tell them stick double the price on for you.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, mate. No discount for the commentator.
But no, obviously, also, just want to say massive shout out and a massive thank you to Lucas as well, who trains all the talent down at DKW Academy. And, pretty much DK wouldn't be what it is today without him. Big shout out to you as well for helping us with commentary.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's time for What Do You Call It? Podcast!